What's up, everybody? This is Zach with a Nerd Cave, and I'm joined along with the man, the myth, the legend, Honeysuckle Methuselah.
What? Like, I know who Methuselah, Honeysuckle. What? I don't understand the correlation.
I'm joined along with
Derek, I think. I'm not sure anymore. My brain just like glitched out for a minute. I have to like reboot myself here in just a second.
Guys, Honeysuckle's having a little bit of trouble today with our show. Guys, this episode is brought to you by our awesome patrons over at patreon.com/nerdcave. You can go over there, support us, get awesome content early. You get access to bringing up a topic, a video topic where we show you on the show and we discuss your topic or your question each and every week. Go over there, become a part of that, get shout outs on all of our live streams, and help us become the Optimus Prime of everything. Literally everything.
Running at Optimus efficiency?
Yes, Optimus efficiency. That's really hard to say. Optimus efficiency. There we go.
I know.
Like,
it's even harder when you have like a slightly bit of a speech impediment. So
yeah,
it's like
no, let's not do that. Let's be Megatron. Let's be the Megatron of them all.
You always go for the villains.
No, I don't.
Really? So all those times that you would say you'd be a Sith Lord are false.
No, those are true.
Okay.
100%. Like, Sith Lords are cool, man. They get the cool robe, the cool lightsaber. Like, you know, it's like, boom, done. It's like, why would I be a Jedi and like tie myself to dogmatic views?
You know, you're like the Giancarlo Esposito of like the show. Like, you're such a great person in real life, but you want to play like the worst.
I don't know who that is, but you know, Despacito was a. Oh, okay. Thought you were like bringing up Despacito, and I was like, that's a pretty good song. No, I hadn't heard it for a while.
No, but that's you need to learn your actor names instead of just what they play.
I don't learn actor names. I know their faces and what they play. Guys, we're gonna jump into the news that you need to know. Halo Infinite details have emerged. There will be a night and day cycle confirmed, and will affect in-game activity. Will have an effect on enemy patrols, combat engagement, cutscenes, and more. Snowstorms and thunderstorms coming post-launch. The Zeta Halo ring will be rendered in 3D and offers a twist on eclipses in-game when the sun passes behind it. Also, while the story is linear, 343 encourages players to go off the beaten path, meaning players can go to an objective further in the story if they want to. There, unfortunately, will be no dual wielding, no playable elites, and no hostile wildlife. While we'll have different biomes, including the primary Pacific Northwest and the Deadlands swamp. So that's a lot.
A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. The no dual wielding thing, that's dumb.
That was gonna be my first question. Is like, is the no dual wielding is gonna be the biggest complaint out of all of this?
Like, I know 2 brought in dual wielding. I remember 3 having dual wielding. I don't remember if ODST, I don't think had dual wielding.
No.
Maybe Reach had dual wielding.
I think Reach did.
Okay.
Played as Spartans, because the whole thing with ODST is like, oh, it's a Spartan thing to dual wield. I'm like, no, it's not. Stop it. You just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Did 4 and 5 have dual wielding?
4, I think, did. I don't remember 5. 5 is just a blur to me because it's an abomination.
Yeah. Brandon said, that is so stupid. No akimbo. Yes, 4 and 5 did have apparently dual wielding. It's like, for me, it's like, that's kind of a staple of the gameplay at this point in time.
Yeah.
And no playable elites. Like, is that like, you can't be an elite in like multiplayer? Because that's also been a thing that's like been around for a while as well.
I guess that's what they're getting, because you know the only time you get to you had to play it in the story was 2, I believe, right?
Yeah. But I know like with elites, like the box like for your head and everything, like the hit marker and everything was a lot bigger, so headshots were a lot easier. So like competitively, like people wouldn't play as elites, but you know, a lot of people did like having the ability to play as like an elite in multiplayer, but I don't know. And I'm sorry, Brandon, 5 is not good. 5 is
5 had some good qualities, but you know
what the best part was?
What? When you finished it?
Rolled. And I never got to that part.
Gosh.
Some of the cool things to point out here is we talked about this when the story broke that 343 and the Coalition were working together on Halo Infinite. That we kind of talked about, are they trying to do the same kind of Gears 5 thing where there's a hub area and you explore it and there's different things to do there. And clearly, while we see, it's linear, the story, but it encourages players to go off the beaten path. Like that is the Gears 5 kind of model right there.
Yeah. And, the first, because I read the article too, right? And it said, they said that you can even go do objectives that's you won't reach until you progress further in the story. Like you can go and do that. Not just like they weren't pertaining to just side quests. They kind of made it seem like it's a Breath of the Wild thing where it's like, hey, maybe not go fight Ganon at the end, but maybe go and do some things that you probably wouldn't do until you got to that part later in the game. So it's like, hey, just look around. The big takeaway is like it encourages exploration, which we saw that at the only gameplay reveal they've done thus far for the game. It's like, they zoomed out and showed like there's this big map to look at, whatnot. So I don't know. I definitely got Breath of the Wild vibes from that statement. It's like, all right, you can kind of skip certain parts if you want to just go ahead and knock this out, or if you pass by this and want to do it, even though that you might do it later in the game as one of the objectives for the linear story, you can go ahead and do it. We don't care.
Yeah, and like I definitely, like you were saying, Breath of the Wild, that definitely, because Gears 5 like is kind of locked in. It's like, you're in this section, you're gonna do whatever's in this section, and when you leave it, that's it, type deal. So I'm kind of excited for that. Just side note, I did have Dan try to convince me. Well, he did convince me to like go for the Master Sword or whatever, like in the tower. When I just started the game, like after I got the glider.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Needless to say, I never made it to the castle because the Guardians blew me up.
I was just going to ask. That's with all the Guardians, right? So
yeah.
Oh
yeah, not fun, not fun. Also with the Zeta Halo ring like being rendered, 3D rendered and all of that, I'm curious to see like how the sunsets will do all, like having weather, having all of these things is something that like we've come to like expect in these kind of games. Especially like, with Breath of the Wild, like it was also this like rotating thing, it'd rain, it'd be snowing, it'd be this, that, and fog, blah, 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 blah. So like we've come to expect like games that are built like this to have weather aspects to them.
Right. And affecting patrols too, right? Like, because, they said, during the day, like a patrol of grunts could be walking by, but at night they'll be snoozing. So, that'll have a different aspect of gameplay. Maybe this will incorporate some type of stealth element to Halo. Maybe it's like, hey, go raid this little outpost or whatnot. But if you wait till nighttime, not as many enemies to fight, and you can go do your objective, get in, get out, and you're done.
Yeah, but what is the fun in that, man? You gotta.
I know. Maybe to plant some bombs to blow up the facility would be better. That's more Halo-esque.
You gotta spill the blood of your enemies.
I know. The purple blood.
You gotta satiate the hunger, man. Satiate the hunger.
But and I also think that having the new biomes too is great because most of the time when you're on a Halo game, you see you have your cities, but most of the time it's like forest, Rocky Mountain, desert. That's it. It's like rinse and repeat.
In the first one, there was snow as well. So
you're right. I take that back. But how about this? It's not. They don't vastly explore. Hey, an old dog can learn new tricks too. Yeah. So the student does surpass the master every once in a while.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
But yeah, having the different biomes and it wasn't in the article I posted, but I thought I saw something too with with the ring being 3D rendered that you have the possibility of like kicking enemies off the Halo ring too.
I think we talked about that last week or the week before that is a
Right,
thing that you can do in the game.
right. Which makes sense. So they're incorporating different elements. Like, how does this because I know we both played pretty much all the Halo games, but I know you've
Yeah.
always been more in not in depth. What's invested in the franchise?
Yep.
What seeing all this? How does this make you feel? Like, what does this do for you? Does that proverbially like get you excited at all? Get you goosebumps? What? Tell me how you feeling.
The thing that gets me invested into Halo in general is
Mhm.
the story. And
Yeah,
so far we're getting like world elements, like how the game is going to play and everything.
yeah.
Like if the story is not solid, if the story does not interest me, and it doesn't have to just be the Master Chief to get me invested in the story. It
Hmm.
is just a good story overall because I've
Yeah,
read majority of the Halo books, and not all of them revolve around, you know, Master Chief. Some of my
right.
favorite ones had nothing to do with him and had to, do with just regular civilians or like going in depth with like the Covenant as, a whole
Hmm.
and everything. So I think for me to get excited for this game, for me to, be stoked about it, I've got to see some more story elements, like what it's going to be about. Make me care about the villain, make me care about like why he's doing this, not just poorly rendered brute. um
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I think that's my biggest thing, is just like give me something to invest in with a story. And if they, have some books that are going to lead up into this and fill out some stuff, awesome.
yeah.
I'm down to read like that. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to read books that surround universes. Like Mass Effect has good books, Halo has
Star
good
Wars.
books, Star Wars, of course. Dragon Age has good books. Gears has good books. So it's
Hmm.
like being able to, it's like have the game set up a lot of awesome things, but then let the books kind of fill out some stuff for the people that are interested in that. So that's what I want. I want a good story. I want to
Yeah.
like be excited to jump into Halo Infinite and see where it goes. Because like, yes, I've played a ton of Halo multiplayer. I played a ton of that back in the day. It's not really something that like I'm jonesing for. Like I don't really like, yes, I'll play some, I'll
Yeah.
enjoy it. But that's not the thing that I'm going to get Halo for. It's going to be for the story. It's to see where it goes, see what happens. And that's where, it ultimately comes down to, that is getting a good story.
Yeah. And we're the older we get, the busier we get. And it's like, look, we don't have time to jump into multiplayer matches and wait in lobbies for like 20 minutes. Sometimes we just
Hmm.
want to play a couple of missions of a great story and that's it for the day.
Yep.
So
That's it for the day. You know, Halo Infinite might be a diamond in the rough, but Jade Raymond opens an independent studio called Haven and will work on original IPs for the PS5.
yeah. And just some background for those of you who don't know who Jade Raymond is or recognize the name, she spearheaded and produced a lot of like great franchises, specifically for Ubisoft. Like she oversaw the first two Assassin's Creeds and Unity. She oversaw the first Watch Dogs. She oversaw Far Cry 4. She oversaw the last Splinter Cell and Blacklist. And the last thing she did was for EA. Probably why she kind of left EA because of all the controversy. She was on Battlefront 2. So
Mm,
some hits,
okay.
some misses, and this is her coming off the heels of like, for those who don't remember, we covered it a few weeks ago. Um, Stadia definitely is like not dead, but heading toward that. And she was the head honcho over, saw all the Stadia projects. She spearheaded development on Stadia. She spearheaded like the exclusive studios that were going to do exclusive games on Stadia. And now she was just like deuces, like I forget if they were just like a mutual parting or I don't think she got fired, but I forget if she just decided to step away, if it was a mutual separation or what. But I think this is giving her a fresh environment to step into by creating a new studio, working on a game, like doing stuff that made, focused on what made her so successful, is like working on these franchises or starting up a new game that's going to not necessarily turn heads, but at least be a talking point in the industry. And it being exclusive to PS5 is going to be interesting too, because this has definite like Hideo Kojima vibes to it as well.
Yeah, I'm excited, seeing the pedigree that she has, and her going from, okay, she's trying to make Stadia a thing, but clearly seeing the writing on the wall and getting out before, the ship goes down like the Titanic, and going over to a place that values storytelling, that values good IPs is a huge thing. I'm not saying, I'm not disparaging Xbox by any means. I think Microsoft has done a really good job in the last 5 years to start getting IPs that will set them up to be on par with PlayStation. PlayStation, on the other hand, has had that for a very long time. It's the thing that's been selling PlayStation consoles, is the stories, is the IPs. It's not necessarily the multiplayer. Like, they never had a Halo. They tried with Killzone. That one didn't pan out the way they thought. But they've been able to make things that people want to play. Why do you buy an Xbox? Because your friends play on it. Why do you buy a PlayStation? Because there are stories that you want to play. That's kind of how it goes. And them able to secure somebody that had her hands in so many big projects, that's huge. Assassin's Creed. Have you ever played that game? Fallout 4, which was an amazing game. Like, all of these things that, that's cool. I'm excited. And, curious to see what comes from it.
You kind of touched on it here just a moment ago. This is Sony's perfect call and response, essentially. Like, I know they don't own her studio, but she may have just wanted to do it with Sony to begin with. Who knows what the logistics are with that? But this is the perfect call and response for Sony, off the heels of Bethesda's finalization of acquiring Bethesda, right? Because Sony is like, now, while Bethesda was a great get for Xbox and definitely bolsters their library, it definitely bolsters Game Pass now, with a lot of great games that Bethesda has done over the decades. Sony's like, look, we're going to do quality over quantity. You can buy a 5, 10, 20 studios Xbox. We're going to do stuff like, when everyone's like, oh, when before they bought Bethesda, everyone was like, oh, they're buying up Undead Labs, they're buying up Playground Games and all this. What's Sony going to do? What do? It's like, we only need to buy one for right now. That's Insomniac Games. They do great work. They just came off the heels of Spider-Man. They've got another Ratchet and Clank down in the pipeline. That looks great. We're going to make this an impact. We're not just going to do it for headlines. We're going to make an impact with this. Then it's like, all right, Bethesda deal finally acquired. Looks like the exclusivity thing for a lot of Bethesda properties might be in the pipeline. And so it's like, oh, that sucks for Sony. Hey, you remember Jade Raymond, who did all this amazing work on all these great games? She's going to do the next game for us only on PS5. So stick that on your car, Xbox.
Yeah, that's huge. Like, that is absolutely huge. And, it just keeps... I love competition, healthy competition in the gaming space, because it just breeds better things for the consumer. We have seen...
the gamers win.
Exactly. We have seen where there isn't healthy competition. We've seen loot boxes run rampant, to microtransactions and all of that. And, everybody is chasing that sort of money with your third-party games, But now we're seeing, I think that's the cool thing about first party, is like, they know people are going to want to play the games because they're good. They don't have to cram it full of money making things. And just a quick side story, real quick. We didn't have this on here. Or do we have this on here?
I don't know.
The Activision layoffs.
Oh, no, we don't. I had thought about putting that on there, but I'm just like, no, because I feel like it'll get brought up at some point. And I was right.
Here it is. So Activision laid off over 100 employees this week.
Like almost 200, I think.
Yeah, it was close to 200. And like, they did get severance pay. They did, this, that, and the other. But
the CEO.
But the CEO is getting like a $200 million bonus.
Yeah. And
while
the investors are actually looking into that and being like, is this ethical?
I can't. What is that guy's name? Activision CEO.
His name's
Bobby
Dirtbag.
Kotick.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, Bobby Kotick, and he's been known to be like this before. So
Yeah.
it just puts out there. To me, it's like, if you take care of your people, you value people, this would not be a situation. Like, you don't hear this from, you don't really hear this kind of stuff from first party games. Like,
I mean, you hear it every once, like you hear restructuring, like with what Sony did with Japan Studio, but I mean, it's not like, oh, Japan Studio's closed. Like, no, they see the value in it and they want to keep part of it. They just don't want to invest in the entirety of it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. This, on the other hand, is dirty, underhanded business. I think the thing that got me the most was everyone that got laid off got a $200 Activision Blizzard, BattleNet card, a gift card.
That's the equivalent of the Fallout 76 debacle, where it's like, oh, here's all these problems. Here's $5 of credit in the game.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry you lost your job. Here is a $200 gift card that you will use to pay us. Thank you.
Right. Wow. That's so backhanded. Yep. Wow. Like, here's the lasting impression we'll leave on you. Here's a $200 gift card that you can only give to us. It's like, no, you laid me off. Yeah. I don't want to give you any more money.
Yeah, exactly. Like, of course, yes, they are getting severance, which means they'll be taken care of. They will give them time to transition into a new studio, find a job, whatever. Hopefully it will be long enough for all of them, because that is a lot of jobs, like almost 200 people losing their jobs. Yeah. Hopefully.
Because in 2019, they laid off a bunch of employees then, too.
Yep, and guess what? Who made a lot of money that time, too?
The CEO.
So, yep, exactly. So I just brought that up because, like, you see third party how they treat people compared to first party how they treat creators, and like I pray for all the people that have lost their jobs over at Activision Blizzard, because that is not like when you are making money hand over fist with you got
just from Call of Duty.
You got Call of Duty, you got WoW, you got Overwatch, you've got so many things that are making money. That should not ever happen. Like, no, that should not ever happen. Like, if you're,
and it's not just, yeah, I mean, no, and it's not, just to kind of piggyback too. It's like, I would take it a step further and be like, it's not just third party versus first party. It's just well-managed studios versus money grubbers, because we see Sony with Japan. It's like, look, we're just restructuring based on how we invest the money into your studio. If it's not making money, why keep investing in it? We're not laying you off to make a profit. We're laying you off because, we don't want to keep pouring money into this dead horse, or before it just decays into bones. Yeah. Whereas you have Activision's like, I'm not getting enough money. Let me lay off employees so I can pad my wallet even more.
And this comes after them buying Vicarious Visions as well. Like,
oh my gosh.
A month ago.
Which makes you wonder how many of those guys got affected too.
Yep. So there's a lot of stuff. I just wanted to bring that up. I know it wasn't on the list, but
nice little tie-in though.
Yeah. Some news, the good news, hopefully, came out this week. Dying Light 2 confirms a 2021 release, but no other info at this time. Watch the little trailer. It was like a angry tweets kind of thing. It was kind of cheesy, not gonna lie. Very cheesy, but
very like a Devolver Digital press conference.
Yeah, like it felt like 2012, like when Jimmy Kimmel used to do like mean tweets on his show or whatever. But showed some gameplay of the game, which I think is just stuff that's already been shown before and just chopped back up. Maybe some newer stuff, but them confirming that there is a 2021 release makes me feel like it's going to be the fall, or November at the latest.
Yeah, and to kind of go back to what you said, it's like hopefully some good news. I have some terrible news for you, my friend. I don't have faith in this game anymore. Because if you haven't heard, because this is actually a great piggybacking off of Activision, like how do you not treat your employees?
Mhm.
I don't know if you've heard, there's been a lot of negative stuff coming out about the studio, about the game development. Like, obviously, there's your typical toxic work environment, like no crunch necessarily, but between employees of different genders, there's been some of that going around. But the biggest one that's stuck in my craw is the person running the development on this game borderline almost has ADHD, because he'll see something, like they'll be working on something, he'll see something in another game or just announce a new feature in this franchise, and he's like, I want that in my game. Make this happen. Do it now. And he'll see another 5 things. It's like, find a way to incorporate this, and that. And the employees are just like, we can't make a game on this. Like, this is not a game. This is just like different test subjects at this point. This is like an experiment.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy, because like
Yeah.
you've got to have like fundamental gameplay loops.
Yeah.
You can't just add a bunch of different properties in there and expect it to stick. Because if you do, then you're having to restructure your game every flipping time.
Yeah. It's like, what's the old saying? Like throwing stuff on the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't mind you coming with new ideas during development, but if it doesn't make sense for your game, why don't do it? Like, don't just because you saw this shiny new toy in this game that these developers did, that all of a sudden you have to think, oh, I want this in my game. I don't care if it doesn't make sense. Add this in my game now. And it's like, no. This is not sticking to the true idea of what, or our vision of what this game should be. Because this is the first time, because we haven't heard anything about it for several years. Like, it was first revealed E3 2018. I think they did a follow-up in the following year at E3, 2019. And then we have mum's the word on that game since. And now all the stuff coming out about it has been negative. And then now you say, oh, it's coming this year. With all that stuff we just discussed, that makes me feel this is going to be the next Cyberpunk situation for me. But it's actually in the press before release. It's getting all the stuff out before, not after the game's already out.
See, it makes me feel like it is just to be a PR spin to try to get negative things away from it. It's like all this bad stuff coming out. Okay, let's say that we're releasing the game this year, have no intentions of, actually releasing it, and then, oh, we got to push it because of this, that, and the other, and try to salvage the game later. Or it comes out, it's hot garbage, and then we just go about, our lives with another bad zombie game that came out that could have been great. And which stinks, because Dying Light is one of the like critical darlings that not even just the news journalists enjoyed, but everybody that played it was like, I love this because it's such a different take on this genre. Like, with at night they're stronger, and it's all this parkour stuff and all of that. Like, if it does not get fixed, if management above the person that is leading development does not fix the issue, it is their fault. They should
100%. They allowed it to happen.
Yeah, they should rein in the person that is leading the development, and either, hey, you got to cut this out, or let's bring in somebody else that knows what they're doing.
Yeah,
as simple as that.
100%. And going back to Dying Light, and obviously, the game did some great things. It's the same people. I don't know if it's the same people working on it from 1 to 2, but the studio that did it did Dead Island, and this is pretty much just like, hey, we know you had issues with Dead Island. This is the Dead Island game we should have made in the beginning, and it also changed the mold for the industry by making successful games come out beginning of the year. Like, you're not having everything rushed to the fall and being lost in the ethos, even if it was good. Like, if it was overpowered by 30 other things, no one would remember it or care it or talk about it as much. But they said, hey, we're coming out January of 2015, right after the gaming rush. People have got money to spend, and look what it did. And now you see how many games have followed suit. Like, arguably the first quarter of the year has become just as important, if not more important, than the last quarter of the year in gaming. And it's funny too that there are rumors that Microsoft at one time was thinking about buying the studio for Dead Island 2 and like adding it up. And now that this has all come out, I wonder if it's either going to say, make them back off and be like, yeah, we don't want this mess. We want to let that. We're trying to get good PR now, not bad PR. We already have the Halo debacle. We don't need more.
We don't need another Crackdown 3.
No. But I wonder if this also makes them think it's like, hey, maybe it's changed negotiations with them. It's like, hey, we want to buy you, but this guy's got to go, or he's definitely got to get demoted.
Yeah, like, it's a threat assessment, or not a threat assessment. That sounds like they're going to get attacked. Like, they're going to assess like damages, like what you know. When they look at it, it's like, okay, what could potentially harm us? And having a game like this that comes out and that could be potentially bad, having employees that are acting certain ways, and having leadership that is not doing well, that will affect the price if Microsoft goes through buying this company. Which is good leveraging and everything, but I think it will, if they're not careful, like this will be another CD Projekt Red issue. And if they crunch, it will be even worse. So I just hope that people come in with a level head, and really think about what they're doing. It's not just like hitting a date. Like, that's not what gaming is. Like, yes, we want games, but it's like, you don't have to hit this arbitrary date just to do something. Make a good game, make something that people want to play, and treat people right. Like, when people are, treated well, it shows in like the game. Like, you can see the love in the game, but it's like, once you start hearing, oh, well, they had to crunch, for 6 months to try to hit this date. And, it's like, when you actually know what that means, like people not getting to see their family, people not spending time with loved ones, it's like, man, that makes the game way less appealing than, people treating people right, So,
but money talks, and money is a precedent over everything else, apparently. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately.
Moving on to the Square Enix Presents that happened yesterday. There was a lot of cool things that were shown on this, some things that I'm very, very excited for. But the first thing that came out that I saw was this. People were talking a lot about it. It was called Forspoken. It was formerly known as Project Athia. And
Either
it is
one.
coming in 2022. They showed like the actress. She was talking about the project and everything, and how it's like this, world that's beautiful but dangerous, and it's got all these different kind of creatures and all this kind of stuff, and how they've done mocap and all this cool stuff. And the world looks very interesting. It kind of reminds me of like Bloodborne in a way. Not the combat, but like kind of like the enemies and everything. And we get like a dragon.
Very gothic,
Yeah, kind of like this gothic kind of look. She doesn't look that way. She's wearing like tennis shoes and like running pants.
I was gonna, and I was gonna say too, it's very bright and vibrant compared to Bloodborne as well.
I'm talking about more of like the creatures, like the tendril kind of looking thing to it. But the thing that stuck out to me was, after they did the whole announcement, this is the title and all of that, they did show some gameplay, and the gameplay looks really, really cool to me. It has a very like Final Fantasy
50. I was gonna say.
Like that quick traversal and everything, but it also, it didn't feel like Final Fantasy like 15 and even like the 7 remake. Like the combat doesn't feel weighty, if you will. This felt like the powers that she was using had more weight to it. And I think that's a big thing for me, like especially since God of War. It's like, if combat does not feel weighted, like what I'm doing actually affects, it's just like my character model is hitting this character model, thus it's going to take this percentage off because of what I'm wearing. Like, like there's a algorithm that's running in the background. Like, if it actually feels like I am smacking the mess out of something with an axe or my fist or this or that, like that makes me invested in the gameplay compared to the other side of it and everything. And that's something I'm going to actually talk about here in a minute. What did you think of it, Derek?
No, I mean, I don't have much more to add from what you said, other than like, yes, like it is very intriguing. Like this is the first gameplay I think we saw. I know they teased it when they first unveiled it, but there's been like an elemental like spell crafting power to it. Like it's definitely very like action RPG esque. But
Mhm.
I had the same reaction as you. The moment, especially like in like the little like not the desert, but like like a little like open area, like cliffs, canyon, like with a grassy area. I was like, this is very Final Fantasy 15 esque. They definitely took that same. I don't want to say the same engine, but very similar to it and incorporated into this game. But and they did say, because I figured, usually the name when the project it has some type of tie-in to the actual name. So when I saw Forspoken, I'm like, what is this? And then I saw it's like, oh, this is Project Athia. I'm like, all right, where does Athia tie into? And that's the actual name of the world, I believe, if I'm correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was
So-
wondering. I was wondering what that was all about. I'm curious about the story. Like again, like we already talked about, like for Halo, I gotta have a good story for me to buy in. So I'm curious to see where that comes for this game. The combat does look pretty dope. I'm just curious to see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
The next game we talked about last week in quite detail of like what is needed to happen and how Square Enix keeps making some mistakes here.
To put it lightly.
There was, Avengers got a lot of details. Extended Hawkeye future imperfect trailer shows Taskmaster returning, which was kind of cool. We saw him at the beginning of the game. The vanilla story,
boss.
if you will. Yeah. And that's all you saw of him. That was it. Boom, gone. Black Panther War for Wakanda announced with 2021 roadmap. The Tachyon Anomaly mission Spring, Red Room Takeover, New Harm Room content in Spring, the Cosmic Cube, new villain Sector Summer or later. New villain sector will come summer or later. Wasteland Patrol, new Warzone missions types, summer or later. War for Wakanda will be summer or later. Spider-Man in develop, but will not release before Black Panther expansion. Okay, so that's a lot of words. Let's start with Hawkeye. The future imperfect looks like a really cool story. Like I am very curious for that. With Mastermind, it like he called him Bruce. So I'm wondering like if that's actually Banner.
Me too. Like I wonder if that, because the guy's name Maestro is the villain name or whatnot, but it almost seems like it's the opposite without getting into spoiler, like what Endgame did.
Yeah.
And where the Hulk pretty much is like the dominating persona of Banner. If it's true, he took over. He's a dominating persona, but has Banner's mind. But he's just as like more evil or whatnot. So it is interesting to see, and it's like pretty much like an alternate timeline, because I think they said they also have to find Nick Fury. They're trying to find him and locate him. I heard Black Widow's voice in the background because I heard Laura Bailey. So it seems like she'll be tagging with him, even though Kate Bishop's coming with him too. So I don't know who's all going to be tag teaming with them, but it does look like an intriguing story. Taskmaster being there is weird. Like he doesn't look like he's changed. Like I don't know how far in the future this is, obviously, but I wonder if he got sucked up into some type of portal and it's like, all right, you're more aware of present day. How do we get to this point?
Yeah, and I think my biggest like thing, going back to the weighted combat, like Hawkeye, like just watching it is like.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even feel like this is like doing damage. Like, how can this guy do the same amount of damage that Hulk or Iron Man or Thor or even
Black Widow?
Yeah, Black Widow. What is the girl's name? Elastigirl? What? I don't know.
Oh, Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel. Like none of that like came across. It was like there's nothing. Like it feels like. It felt so weird to me, even with the sword like combat.
I was gonna say that's the only time it felt like it had weight to it, was he even pulled out the Ronin sword.
Yeah, and it's like he's fighting these like things that would take Hulk a while to like bust down, like the big robot loader arm things, and it's like he's fighting that and like damaging it. It's like, dude, shooting like arrows. Like I understand, like it. It just I was like, why? Like this like does not feel weighted at all to me. I did like that.
I
Sorry,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say it would feel more impactful if it was more seen as more like combo-esque. Like Hawkeye
Yeah.
feels like very like a support character. So if he was like comboing off a Hulk or off a Black Widow or even off a Kate
Hmm.
Bishop, that'd be more believable than just him just firing like 3 arrows and then like this tank robot is down. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not
Yeah.
realistic, my friend.
No, no. I did like that, like his symbol and everything, like it's referencing the comic book that had been running for a while back in like 2014, 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that is referencing like that Hawkeye instead of like the, movie version and everything. But like
Hmm.
my biggest thing was like it didn't feel like he was actually doing damage. It didn't feel weighted at all. Like it just
Yeah.
felt, yeah. Um, then Spider-Man. Holy moly, why is Spider-Man not coming out now? Why is it
And
coming out? Like, not even giving
I
a
know.
date. It's like after War for Wakanda, it's like you said that we were going to get
Spring.
Spider-Man. And it's just
So
like,
it
I'm trying
I
to be
know.
positive here, Derek. I'm trying to be positive
I know.
here.
Well, and it goes back to I know we've brought up Avengers many a topic on several shows over the last couple months, and I forget where I said it, if I said it last week or if I said it a couple weeks prior. But this goes in with what I've been seeing and reading and whatnot, where because of COVID or whatever happened with this game like the original post-launch roadmap had to change drastically. Now I had heard that there was a possibility of like, oh, Spider-Man would come before Black Panther and it still would be the springtime window that they would talk about. Not anymore. They're going to stick with the original roadmap in the way things originally were planned to come out, come high water. So I don't know. I feel it like it definitely feels like, oh well, it's supposed to be spring. Where is it? Especially since it's going to be on PlayStation platforms exclusively, and it's also ironic because it's coming to next gen. It's on next gen now. It's on PS5 and Series
Yeah.
X. So it definitely feels very weird to have this all clustered, but then Spider-Man be an afterthought, right? It's like, hey, we're not even going to talk. We're going to mention him, but we're not even going to tease him yet. We're not even ready for that because we have so much else on the backlog that we have to get out first.
No. Like, yeah. So there's a lot planned.
Yeah.
The Black Panther thing looked really cool. The little bit
Yeah.
that was shown, like the outfit looked awesome. Like I definitely cannot wait for that. The
course.
future imperfect, I like the story looks cool. The biggest thing for this Avengers game was the story. The story was good.
Yep.
The rest of it, that's all right.
Yeah. And I saw like a picture that goes a little bit more in depth too, like, the Tachyon anomaly, play as any combination of your favorite heroes, and then missions are scaled for power levels 1 to 100. The Red Room takeover, definitely, I know you can't see the picture, but the picture is definitely Black Widow inspired. We saw in the movies them talk about the Red Room. Enter the Red Room with new threat themed harm room content, new hero outfits. Was it the Cosmic Cube? New scientist. This is interesting how they word it. New Scientist Supreme Villain Sector. So I wonder if there's going to be one of the villains who's like the smart scientist lady who's going to discover on possibly magic powers that Doctor Strange wields, and that's why they word it that way. Who knows? And then confront the unchecked power of the Cosmic Cube. Wasteland Patrol, new Warzone mission type, obviously, patrol mode, new war zones, and assignments within the Wasteland region, which is going to be because, the Wasteland region is going to be in Future Imperfect DLC. This is very like, to your typical MMO, like Destiny-esque, like, oh, hey, there's these like mini missions that you can take a part of, or dynamic world events that you can take part in. And some additional stuff too is like Omega level threat missions, multiplayer mega hives, which are like the raid modes that they've been promising for a while now. Post level 50 progression, outfits inspired by the MCU, which I think is intriguing too. Balance tuning, gear and progression, collectible comics system, matchmaking, all like pretty much like minor and update tunes, like pretty much filler between like big expansion events. And like you said, War for Wakanda definitely is great. Looks fantastic. It's going to have new outfits, raise the power level cap, new villains, including Claw, which you could hear in the teaser trailer for it. Only makes sense because Claw is pretty much like Green Goblin to Spider-Man. New story, obviously, new Wakanda jungle biome, and new outpost.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
I'm curious to see where it goes.
yeah,
I just like don't promise something that you're not going to deliver. Like don't say like
yeah,
you're going to do this, that, or that. I know that's a dead horse that we beat like every week on the show.
yeah,
But it, we talked about the grind being extended last week and
yeah.
everything. Like there's several things that just make me like, why are you doing this? You know, that's my biggest thing.
What?
Is like, why are you doing this? But there are a lot of things I'm glad to see that they're going to be supporting the game, that they're going to put stuff into the game, that they're finally going to like release content and go from there. The seeing the scientist lady come back is going
Yeah,
to be pretty interesting. I hate her
yeah, yeah.
because she
Me too.
like not like as like, oh, this is a poorly written thing. I just hate her because like it was
Yeah,
done pretty well. I just hate
yeah. No, 100%.
her. So
So
like it's going to be cool to see her come back and everything. I'm just curious to see like, does this bring anyone back? Does this like, did this make you, Derek? I know you were thinking last, you know,
mhm.
before they announced the XP grind
Yeah,
to be increased, that you were thinking about dipping the toes back in
hmm,
on national international broadcast television right now for
hmm,
everyone to see. Are you going to go back? And I'm not even going to go to the one of you, Derek. Are you going to go back to Avengers?
yeah. No, I'm about to say I will go back to Avengers, seeing all this and seeing that they have an idea planned. And I do like, talk about don't put a date on things or don't rush things. That's why they put what they did, like the tachyon anomaly and the red room takeover and the I know the Future Perfect DLC dropped with the next gen updates yesterday, but seeing like the other couple things saying spring, it's like, all right, these are coming out in spring. They're painting with a broad brush on these, and then the rest of it they say summer or later, meaning it's like depending on how the rest of the things go, or how if say we run into more issues, it could be summer, could be later. We're not putting a date on it, so I think I like the fact that they're using different verbiage and basically being vague by
Yeah.
saying it's like, hey, this is what we're thinking, but we're not sticking to it just yet until we're ready to say indefinitely.
Yeah.
I definitely think they had me sold when they for the post-launch plans when they said, "Oh, Hawkeye is going to be the first major one," and then Black Panther afterwards, because coming off the heels of not just the passing of Chadwick Boseman, but just like the popularity over the last couple of years of the Black Panther universe has made it become like, hey, this is what you need to do, instead of like. And hopefully this spawns like more, like who knows, like with the Spider-Man content, will that just be like a one-off story, or will that bring in a New York City biome?
Mm.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be
But
awesome with that. I'm curious to see, you know, when we do get Spider-Man, um, with also with this, there's the reassemble campaign. You can go back
yeah,
in the campaign and play that. I just remembered that,
hmm,
which that's my favorite part of the whole game is the
yeah.
campaign of it and everything.
Which
Is there crossplay, like generational crossplay?
mm, hold that thought. Let me
I
look at.
threw Derek for a loop, guys. We hope that you're
Um,
enjoying the episode, guys. Make sure to hit that like button, share it with somebody, and subscribe. And you can watch us each and every week live over on twitch.tv/nerdcave network when we go over it.
it doesn't say.
Mhm.
I know there's cross-gen play. I would assume there's cross-generational as well. And matter of fact, I think it was like an older news article that they put when they were first, before they had to delay all the entire roadmap and throw it out. I think they did say that PS5, like PS4 owners can play with each other, and like all the Xbox. So I think there is
Mm.
cross-generational play. I just don't think they brought that back up with the announcement yesterday.
Okay. Okay. Just wondering, you know, if
So
for some odd reason I wanted to play with you. Now with
yeah.
the Future Imperfect, that's just like single player. That's not like a multi like you and I can play, right?
I mean, I think it's still like the typical team up, because I think you could. I mean, because I mean, you can't. There's only certain parts of the story you could play co-op. So I don't think so. I mean, the trailer did show like, oh, Thor like is in the background and Kate
Mm.
Bishop's in the background like with Hawkeye. So there might be. Who knows? I mean, that could have just been like open world, like the hub area stuff that you can go do, and like the Warzone mission types. Who knows? I think if I had to put a money on it, I think it'll be the typical thing of like the main story has to be played single player, but the rest of it can be played co-op.
Amy jumping in the chat with all the emotes. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Speaking of things that are outside of our knowledge at the moment, Outriders shows a deep dive trailer about wild and hostile world of Enoch gameplay, and character classes will also come to Game Pass day one. Now, I took some notes, Derek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I took some notes. So
that's a first for you, isn't it?
No. Because this one's interesting. Like it definitely feels like a mix between Gears of War and Bulletstorm. Like that's what this world definitely feels like. You can see it in there.
Throw a little Destiny in there too, and then now,
yeah. And I'm talking about like more modern Gears of War, like not the older Gears. But the anomaly that hits and everything makes you this super interesting person. You'll be able to manipulate time, space, and matter. There are 4 different classes. The Trickster, which manipulates time and space and is an up-close combat person. Technomancer is between tech and elemental kind of stuff, which I'm assuming he seemed more of like the far away kind of person. Devastator is over. He's a tank, and his thing is gravity. And the Pyromancer is medium range and can leech energy, and of course is like an elemental kind of guy. And then we see like the gear grind, like they were talking about. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a grinding game. There are armor and weapon mods that are going to be available, and then there's a pretty extensive crafting system that is part of the game as well. And then there's a thing at the end of the game once you finish the whole thing, and all of this is co-op, which I really like. I like that it's all co-op. There are things called expeditions, which is the in-game portion of it where you finish, the normal stuff, and then you keep grinding. Kind of reminded me of like Destiny. You get, the harder stuff afterwards. And also
like the raids or whatnot.
Yeah. Kind of also remind me of like the Dark Zone and
Division.
That game. Yeah, Division. But you will have a customizable vehicle that will like bring your kind of entourage and everything, and like it has like your trophies and all that kind of cool stuff on top of it, and you get to customize it. But when you bring somebody in, their vehicle comes along as well, so like you're both getting to show up all. It's kind of like the ship in Destiny kind of deal going on. I'm kind of excited for this game. Like it does have language, so that's one of the things that was like like it is a humans can fly. Is that the
people can fly?
People can fly. I was close. But that's kind of that, like their MO is kind of more of like a crass humor type deal. But the gameplay looks pretty interesting, and them having 4 different classes, it does. Some of it reminds me of like the hunter, the wizard, and the titan off of Destiny and everything. But I'm kind of excited for it. I want to try the demo out, and like the demo transferring into the game. That's really cool to me.
I know you can only play like the first like couple hours of it, but I mean, still, if you have the ability to play as all 4 character classes and have all like different gear, different loadouts, that'll already save you a lot of time when you start the game.
Oh yeah.
The biggest takeaway for me for this, right, is because I've been kind of hesitant on this game because like we said, it's very Destiny-esque, very like it has a little bit of twinge of Borderlands in it too. To me, I've been hesitant because with a lot of live service games, or a lot of like looter-based games, I start them and then leave. Like Destiny, I haven't gone back to since base Destiny 2. So I've just never cared to get back into that world at all. Avengers, I definitely want to get into because probably more of it's a known property for me. But I've always been hesitant because I'm like, it's like another Destiny. Didn't really care for Destiny after a while. I should never invest. Biggest takeaway for me is this is day one on Game Pass. So when it comes out April 1st, You'll be able to play it. Xbox owners or PC owners or cloud owners can play it via Game Pass. And I was, while you were gone, I think it was while you were getting the controller, but one of your several outings that I had to entertain, I brought up the fact of, I teased the fact of like, some games on Game Pass, I've been willing to try out, especially like hesitant to spend the money. We talked about, price of games goes up, and it's like, all right, we got to really pick and choose what we want to buy.
Yep.
But with Game Pass, $10 a month or 15 if you want Ultimate, you can try out a lot of games and see if it's worth it or not. So with Game Pass now, I'll actually give this a fair shot. Don't know if I'll play it on day one, but I'll probably give it a fair shot than if I were to spend $60 on it or however much it is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things for me as well. It's like if I can try the game, like Outer Worlds, like
yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm curious about this game. I know that oh man, who's the people that made Obsidian? I know they can make good games, but the last time I played one of their games was KOTOR 2. So it's like, okay, let's see what this is going to be like and everything. And I really enjoyed the game, but I didn't have to pay all that money up front just to try out a game. And I think that's the cool thing about, and this being on Game Pass, this is like a third party game.
I was just going to say too, this is the first, other than maybe outside partnerships or like timed exclusivity things, this is the first big third-party game that they put day one on Game Pass. Like, sure, they all come eventually or rotate in after about a month, a couple months to a year after being on the market. But this is the first time we've seen a game on launch day come to Game Pass, which is huge because it's been, for the most part, marketing agnostic. For Outriders, like usually a lot of third parties lean towards Sony or lean toward Microsoft, depending on it. This one has been kind of neutral, and then it's like, all right, we want you on Game Pass, done. So
yeah, and I think it's smart because it's like, okay, we've got this many people that are subscribed to Game Pass. We'll give you this much money up front on your game, and it could even secure majority of the money that they did for development. So it's like, hey, we got a guaranteed. Sure, we'll take it. And then, people are, jumping on Game Pass or people are actually buying it. It, finishes covering the costs, or if they haven't already covered it just through the Game Pass deal, that's big. I think a lot of people will start jumping onto that. Same thing with like Rocket League. It's like people play Rocket League because it was on PlayStation Plus. That is literally the only reason why it blew up, because it was one of the first games on PlayStation Plus.
Same thing with Fall Guys.
Yeah. So it's like, having that there is going to be really, really cool for them. I'm excited for it. I'm still like you said, like there are a lot of games that are like this that, come out and you play for a little bit and then you're gone, and I'm curious to see like if this, keeps people's interest, or is it just another Destiny wannabe, or,
Right. And this further just strengthens the value of Game Pass too, right? Like seeing all this definitely makes you wonder when is waiting for that other shoe to drop and being like, all right, guys, we have to increase the price of Game Pass every month now. So I wonder when that other shoe is going to drop, if this type of trend continues for them. Like it's great, like all the Bethesda games on there, some other games that have been coming, like getting a day one third party game now, and who knows how big that snowball will come down the hill now. Who else will jump in bed with Microsoft, so to speak, for
even
Game
Destiny,
Pass.
Like Destiny, you get all of the content through Game Pass now as well. And it's just like, wow, that's huge. Like the game did go free to play, but like the day and day DLC is available on there. That's big. That's really, really big.
And the people have been questioning, like, while Game Pass has been a great service, like the value of it's like, oh, are these just where mid-tier to like underperforming games go for day one? Like, sure, we get great games that have already been out on Game Pass, but for new games coming in, it's like, they've been so. Like, I know the first one they introduced was Sea of Thieves, and we both are in agreement. It's like that was a smart move for that game because that game was DOA. But now that you're seeing like this bigger investment and them doubling down on it and getting worthwhile titles to play, and it's just like, all right, guys, we may have to increase the price, but at least it's worth the money now.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And speaking of Sea of Thieves, I know I don't particularly care for Sea of Thieves, but I play it to hang out with Travis and Trey.
Yeah,
but that game has come a huge way, like from where it launched and everything. We're We're getting in the weeds, my friend. We gotta keep moving.
I know.
We gotta keep moving.
So,
Life is Strange, True Colors officially was unveiled. It's coming September the 10th. Is a story on mystery, death, and the power of empathy. Will not be episodic. That was huge. That was huge.
And that was gonna be my first question to you, is like, how does this, because that was gonna be our concerns. You know, it's like, how is this launch window? Because, you know, the last one they did was Tell Me Why, which the episodes, it was only 3 episodes. Tell me why.
There you go.
So, but it came out within a week. Like episode 1 came out, and then episode 2 and 3 followed a week after each other. So we were concerned, is like, are they going to follow this similar model, or are they going to space it out like they did the last couple ones? They said, we're not even going to do that. We're just going to nix that whole idea. We're just going to put it out as a full game. So what are your thoughts on that just aspect of it?
I think that's a good idea. Like, I think people are tired of waiting around for episodic. Like, I know, like, it started with
Telltale.
There we go. I was trying to figure out.
Which is why they're dead.
Yeah. Amy said not episodic. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Like, I think, you know, if you can get it all ready to go, and, you know, like, if you need that extra time, I think people, you know, will buy into it. But it's like, you know, not knowing, like, the last season of Walking Dead, it was like, okay, in the middle of it, okay, we're just done. We're just done.
Yeah.
We're closing. And it's just like, what? I'm in the middle of this thing. It's like, okay, guess I'm never going to know what's going to happen. And, you know, thankfully, like, all of that's been resolved and everything.
Yep.
But I think, you know, a lot of people after that was like, yeah, I'm not about that business. But it is weird. And Amy said, hard to picture it. Yeah, I agree. Like, it is going to be definitely 100%. Different. But I think it will make people invest in the story even more, because like, I love Life is Strange, and I think everybody that's ever watched anytime I talk about Life is Strange, like, it is so good, and I'm excited about the next part that was announced as well.
Yeah.
But like, if I would have been able to had all of the story in one session, man, it would have been even better. Like, yes, I had to wait for it, the first game and all of that, but like, being able to buy in to it, I think is really good. It's not like a movie or a television show or whatever. Like, it's different with games. So I'm excited for it. I do have some notes, Derek. I did take notes. Okay.
I saw you reaching for them.
So you sit back and you enjoy these notes. Our main character is Alex. She can play the guitar. And she has a lady that is playing her singing voice that is different from her speaking voice. She's an artist. So there you go, guys. The story is based around her brother named Gabe getting murked. Just getting straight up murked. But she has the power of emotion or empathy to see what people are feeling. And then like, if their emotions are strong enough, like, she goes into like a weird like state that can show her more and more stuff. I'm curious to see where that actually goes. Like, it's not mind reading, because that was like the leak that it might be mind reading or whatever. This seems a little bit more interesting than just like reading someone's mind. Yeah. I'm really excited for it. Haven looks cool. That's the place, the setting and everything. It definitely feels like a hipster's paradise. Yeah,
definitely so. So, and, you know, it ties into the themes, right? You know, like death, you know, like her brother dies. And then there's as you watch the trailer, it's like this mystery of like, oh, the circumstances surrounding it seem a little fishy or a little weird or whatnot, where the mystery aspect comes into, which all ties into the power she has of, you know, feeling the emotions and feeling empathy and whatnot. Because you see these auras, because as you see the trailer for it, the characters that the true colors. You see like red is like anger or whatnot, green is envy. So you see the different, and you know, for as long as, you know, we can remember, you know, there's always been colors have been tied to emotions. So they kind of dictate that. It's like, all right, red is anger, green is envy, blue is, you know, sympathy or what, or I forget what it technically is, but you see the different auras around these people, and that encourages more of like the investigation. Is like, you know, keep pursuing of it, you know. And I think it's more because, you know, for the first for with the exception of Before the Storm, the first two Life is Strange have always had very destructive powers or very like uh, in, intense powers. This one is like feels like more wholesome or more like down to earth or like not as like intrinsically I forget what the word I'm looking for, but you know what I'm saying. It's definitely
weak.
toned down.
She weak.
Yeah.
She weak. She can't even.
Or is she?
She can't even handle the real power. Can't even handle the real power. No, I'm excited for it. I'm curious to see like how like the story is going to play out. September 10th can't come fast enough that it will be a game that I will be playing.
But at least you for the month before you can quell your thirst for the game with this next announcement.
Does it come out before?
Yeah, it comes out August.
Oh, okay. There was another announcement about Life is Strange. Life is Strange Remaster Collection announced for August for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia. Will only include the first game and Before the Storm. This is also going to be part of the Ultimate Edition of True Colors. The reason I was like, it comes out, like I didn't hear that it was going to come out in August because they said in the little trailer that it will be sold separately later on from True Colors.
It's weird because the article I read was it said August. So I don't know. Maybe they misheard. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they misspoke in the presentation. Who knows? But
I don't know.
Supposedly we're getting both of these this year.
They're coming, guys. And if you've never played Life is Strange, like I'm glad that they're putting them together because Life is Strange and Before the Storm like go hand in hand. I'm curious to see if they like make it where you have to play Before the Storm, then Life is Strange 1 because Before the Storm is technically the prequel to it. But at the same time, it's like the whole like time you're like, who is this Rachel girl? Like, I'm curious to see like how they do that with this game and everything. So I'm pumped. Regardless.
And I have two questions for you regarding this announcement. Right. So the first is, it only is 1 and Before the Storm. How they don't include 2. And from as far as we know, none of these, like even the spin-off, like with the exception of Before the Storm and 1, none of the other ones tie into each other. So why just these 2 and not Life is Strange 2 included? Like the only speculation, and maybe I'm looking into this too much, is like maybe they have some tie-in with 1 again with True Colors. I don't know. But how do you feel about 2 being left out of this collection?
I like 1 a lot. I never finished 2. I need to go back and finish 2. But I think because 1, that's the thing that kind of set them up. And this is a way for them to package 1 and 2 together because it is a cohesive story. I think it's a cool way to do it. I'm not sure. Like, I think maybe 2 didn't do as well. I think that might be why they're just like, whatever.
True. Or had some more divisive, especially because that had a terrible launch or release window too. Like the episodes were like literally like episode 1 to episode 5 was like literally I think over a year apart.
Yeah, that's crazy.
My other question for you is, how do you feel about this being, because the collection's only going to be on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Stadia, whereas True Colors is going to be on PS5 and Series X as well. So how do you feel like the next gen people getting snubbed on the collection, but you can get True Colors?
I think it might be the people that are doing like the collection don't want to worry about trying to port it over. They can just use backwards compatibility or whatever to play it. I think that's the biggest thing about it. I think it's more of a manpower and putting money into it when they don't have to. And I like that they're going back to 1 and that they're doing some more work on it, that they're enhancing the visuals and the motion of the characters and everything, that it's not just a straight up, like, we're just we're slapping it back into a package or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that they're actually going to do some more to it. So I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm glad it's this year because I was worried that was going to be next year. So,
yeah. Guys, speaking of years and years
Mhm.
and years and years, 25 to be exact. Tomb
Yep.
Raider's been around. Tomb Raider has been around 25 years. The little thing that they showed felt very underwhelming of like
Yeah.
the wholeness of like Tomb Raider in general. It's like, oh, we got a
Yeah.
cookbook. So you
And we
can
got a
cook.
statue.
Yeah, it's like, and we haven't even finished the statue. We can't even show you all the statue. It's just like, then don't say anything about it. Like, it felt like it was like, oh crap, Lara Croft's anniversary's this year. Like, that's what it felt like.
Right. Well, there's a lot of anniversaries too this year, right? So it feels like this is like the second one because everyone's like, oh, what about the Zelda 30th anniversary? And Nintendo underwhelmed with that.
Yeah.
So
Tomb Raider having their anniversary. Tomb Raider Definitive Survival Trilogy is out now for $20. Price is limited time. That was pretty cool that it was like now. It's out now. Boom.
Yeah.
$20, that's really good for 3 games. And those are really,
with all the
really
DLC.
good games. Yeah, all the DLC and everything, like well worth it. If you have not played the new like relaunch of Tomb Raider, go do it. You're missing out on some really, really good games. We'll have 25th anniversary crossover events with Fortnite, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Is anyone really still playing that? And Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of the Visions. Like, how is that even possible? How is she going to be in Final Fantasy?
So this is just, continuing on we go from underwhelming to weird, right? In the span of the same announcement. Like none of these, like Fortnite, we already, if you saw the latest trailer for their next Battle Pass teaser, you already saw her in the trailer, so no surprise. I just thought that she was in this past event, but I guess it's like, nope, this is upcoming. Ghost Recon Breakpoint makes no sense whatsoever because it's like water and oil. It's like Ubisoft and Square Enix. Like if it was Monster Hunter World and Tomb Raider, that would make more sense because Capcom's known to do crossovers with other games. Ubisoft is like, they've done Predator, which made sense for Wildlands, but I don't know, like maybe there's some tombs in Breakpoint, or maybe that, because they're in like they're like in prone survivor mode, that Lara Croft makes sense, but that doesn't make sense either. And then the Final Fantasy is a mobile game. Like out of all things, you want to do a partnership with a mobile game? Like, come on, guys. Like this is
makes no sense. The trilogy, that's good. Everything else was just kind of like, what is going on? Like it would have been cool. It's like, okay, we're putting out all the games over 25 years are going to be available on, all the current consoles, current and last gen consoles. Boom, done. Yeah, it's all digital. Like that would have been really awesome. Something, but
or even teasing the next Tomb Raider iteration. Yeah. And it does go with, because, we had talked about it last week, right? When we talked about the presentation is, I saw several weeks ago that's like, oh, this whole trilogy is going to be a thing and it's going to come out on the 18th, which is like 2 weeks. I'm like, there's no way they're going to drop it. Well, I was kind of right, kind of wrong, because I thought, this is just going to be an announcement because the announcement was the same day. It's like, no, we're gonna drop it on the day, but and I didn't see like you said, $20 is the grace price point. I didn't see, in the article I read, it said it's not going to be $20 forever, but it didn't put a timestamp on when it's going to go off of $20. But so get that while you can, guys.
Yeah, definitely. And they're apparently going to have more to present later in the summer, probably around E3. So we might get more of the 25th Lara Croft anniversary Tomb Raider and all of that good stuff. But guys, there are the huge heavy hitters. Now we're going to do some jabs. And Derek, take it away with the quick hits.
All right. So this one I'm going to touch on first. Watch Dogs Legion will get cross-play and cross-generational play in a latter update. They just put out the multiplayer update, if not last week, the week before, but it's out now, and they're going to add this. And one caveat I did want to put in, I almost made it a news article, but I didn't think it was a hold segment, but it's weird, right? Looking at this, like this is the third game to get crossplay later, or like just like add in crossplay after the fact. Ubisoft, it's weird for Ubisoft, right? Because Rainbow Six is getting crossplay, Division 2 is getting crossplay this year. Ubisoft has always been on the forefront of like adopting new stuff, whether it be tech or ideas or whatnot. They've always been like early adopters, whether it be VR, whether it be Stadia, they've been there. So it feels like they've been late to the party on the cross play thing. And where, like I said, when Rainbow Six said, it's like, was getting crossplay. This should have been already a thing. Like, why do you think Ubisoft is like so slow on the draw? Like that, it's more of like just a statement than a question. But it's weird for Ubisoft to do this.
Yeah, it is strange. I'm glad to see that it is happening. Especially to like their bigger titles and everything. It'd be cool to see it like come to For Honor as well, if it isn't already. Because I know a lot of people love For Honor. I haven't really seen much support for it, but I don't know. Like you were saying, they're usually kind of the ones that are at the front of all of that. But I feel like they've had bigger fish internally to fry. So they might have been focused on some other things that we weren't privy to till recently.
Exactly. So, but yeah, just a weird little caveat for me. I was thinking about this while putting the show together this morning. So moving on, PS4 Communities feature is getting axed by Sony next month in April. If this is probably why it doesn't get used, or this is probably why they're axing it. Probably doesn't get used. It's that little feature where it's like a little glorified meet and greet, like people with similar interests or similar like gaming inquiries can get together, play. You know, if you're a Destiny lover, you can create a community for that to post like when the next, if they're doing raids, if they're doing this, that, or the other. So that community, there's plenty of other things on the internet. You know, PSN Profiles does it. I'm sure Xbox has a community thing for them too. So it makes sense if the feature's not getting used, and if it's like in a mesh of like a million other things, why keep it going? Following up on this, two things that you'll be interested in, Zach. Fall Guys Season 4 is coming March 22nd, but we'll have Among Us crossover costumes. And the follow-up to that is Among Us, the new airship map that they've been teasing since the Game Awards, is going to be out March 31st. That is just over a week away, guys. A week and a half away, guys. So I know, you're about to say, I know. And so I didn't think about this till this morning when seeing this. It's like, I haven't played Among Us in a really long time. And now with this airship map coming, it'll give me a reason to go back into the game.
Yep. I'm excited for both of those. Like, I'm glad that Fall Guys and Among Us are doing like a crossover thing. You know, because like both of them, like Fall Guys hit, and then Among Us like came up and just murked them hard.
The popularity, Among Us had already been out, but the popularity came out of, definitely surged it for sure. Speaking of, we talked about Game Pass and its increasing value. The next two things are going to be adding to that. Undertale is coming to Xbox via Game Pass. It's on Game Pass right now, guys. If you love, it's a little indie darling, one of those cult hits that are just taken over by storm. I know there's like a pseudo sequel or just like an anagram of a different game that's in that same universe, I guess, coming out. I forget the name of it at the moment. But that's, it's on the, if you want to get into this like little unique universe, now's your chance. If you're a Game Pass subscriber. Following that, Octopath Traveler, which had been formerly a Switch exclusive, is coming to Xbox via Game Pass on March 25th. It got its PC release a year after the Switch launch, and supposedly it's already on Stadia too, which is weird because it got no fanfare for that. But it still doesn't have a release for PlayStation in sight. Does this, just a little side caveat, does this not really concern you, but does this question, like Square Enix RPGs has always been synonymous with PlayStation, it coming to Xbox first, is that just more of like a marketing get, or are they basically saying, don't worry, it'll come to PlayStation in down the road?
I think it's more of a marketing thing. I think PlayStation has got more than enough games on there. Octopath Traveler is not going to sell a console. I'm sorry.
No.
It's going to be other games. So like PlayStation is not in a rush. If Xbox wants to pay them money to get on there or whatever, like PlayStation is in a place where people want to get on it. You know what I mean? That and Switch are kind of the same way. It's like people want to get on those consoles because they're the most popular ones. So I think, it not coming to PlayStation is not that big of a deal. It'll eventually happen, but I don't think we need to worry if, Sony's losing its touch or something like that. Shuhei will take care of it.
Yes. So continuing on the speaking of PlayStation stuff, Disco Elysium, the final cut, will be coming to PS5 and PS4 on March 30th. That is just over a week and a half, about a week and a half away, guys. It's another cult hit. One of a lot of awards of the year came out on PC, but now it's finally coming to a console, or in this case, two consoles. But it's coming to consoles finally.
Console.
Yeah, yes, the console, the only one that matters. PSVR 2's controllers were revealed. Has a very like ergonomical sphere to it, but it's confirmed to have haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, which I said from the get-go, that should have been a staple. If it wasn't, they're doing it wrong from already. But they also have finger touch detection and tracking, which I find that those two features, like the tracking, is it's been kind of becoming a staple in the VR space, so that's not surprising. But the finger touch detection will be cool too, because now that means you can extend your fingers and it'll pick it up and register it without having to like push a button to register or whatnot.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that they're going to be integrating like the haptic feedback that is in the PlayStation 5 controller. Like that's what is needed, and seeing them going to be doing more of like the things like the Oculus Quest and all of that can do, or like that's something that's definitely needed with the tracking.
Yep. Continuing the Game Pass train, as of yesterday, EA Play is now on Xbox Game Pass for PC, and I'll have, I think, over 60 titles on there. So your Game Pass PC library just got expanded by another almost 100 games. So have fun with that, guys.
That one is
a lot of
big.
great games.
That one is big. I'm curious to see how that is going to affect EA Origin, because I know EA Origin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is day and day. EA Play is usually like games that are a little bit later in the library and everything. But EA Origin, like, I'm curious to see how that's going to affect subscriptions for that.
Maybe other than certain games, they'll shut down Origin, because there have been times that have come up over years where there's been rumblings of like, oh, will EA Origin last or whatnot. So maybe this is the final nail in the coffin for it.
Yeah, because like Origin Access, like I used it a lot year before last. It's great, like being able to like any EA game, like the day it comes out, all the DLC, you pay $14 a month. It's like Game Pass, but just for EA games. So I'm curious to see what that's going to do for it in the future.
Right. Next is, and it's been seemingly rated for it, so it's not been officially confirmed, but we all can speculate that it's going to be true. Jedi Fallen Order has been listed for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. Only makes sense because of how popular the game was when it came out a year and a half ago, roughly. Super popular, the best Star Wars game they've put out under EA's umbrella by far. So I'm glad to see that we're going to get some next-gen love for it. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Wrath of the Druids expansion will be coming out April 29th. That's just over a month away. It's the first big expansion for Valhalla post-launch. Scarlet Nexus, which was originally showcased during the original, I think it was the first Xbox reveal event for Series X, finally has a release date. People have been inquiring. It's a very unique Japanese, by Bandai Namco, Japanese like anime-esque video game. With the power of the mind and brain powers, coming out June 25th, so only a few months away. And it will have an anime tie-in, speaking of that. So I'll be checking that out on Funimation. One semi-breaking news as the last one.
One quick one.
Yeah.
Speaking of anime tie-ins, animated tie-ins, Lara Croft Tomb Raider will be getting an animated show on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. I didn't. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I forgot about that when it said anime tie-in. I'm like, oh yeah, that was the other thing in the Tomb Raider stuff.
Well, that's at least good, because I know like the Castlevania one was really good. So hopefully this is well received as well. Yeah. If they get that Netflix money, they'll be set. Semi-breaking news is the last bit, and I say semi-breaking because this was several hours ago, but because of when we are doing the show, it's only semi-breaking. Gotham Knights has been delayed to 2022, and that'll probably push back the Suicide Squad game as well, because they probably don't want to cross streams on that.
My disappointment is palpable.
Yeah, I know.
But again, it like we say it all the time. Put out a good game later, then put out a crappy game now. So, even though that I want to play this game, even though I want it on my my PlayStation right now, I will take it when it comes out and when it's good.
Yep.
I don't want it
Yep.
when it's bad. And I think everybody has now learned the mistake that
Yep.
that we've
Cyberpunk.
talked of Cyberpunk. So
I'll say, since at least the second episode of the show, no one wants to be the next Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
or if this holds true, the next Dying Light 2.
hopefully not. But yeah, like it's not that it's breaking news. It's a big deal, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're making smart choices that okay, it's going to come out in 2022. They've got all this year and they're not even saying what quarter or where they're trying to like pick in 2022. So there's no reason there should be crunch. There's no reason this game should not run well and look awesome and have a great story and make me feel like Batman all over again.
Yep.
I'm Batman.
So.
I'm Batman.
Trigger.
Where are the drugs? Where?
You want to get to an ordinary citizen?
Guys, we hope that you have enjoyed the episode. You can get it over on YouTube once it's up there. You can get it as you can get it live or you can get it cold. You can get them come in warm or you can come in cold.
Well, not necessarily cold. You can just reheat it in the microwave.
I was trying to reference Mandalorian.
Okay.
I'm bringing them in warm. Or I can bring
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Little.
That's what I was
It's been a minute since I've seen. So
yeah.
I got to rewatch season 1.
Yeah. Derek, you need to get your notes out.
Listen. I have my notes. They're just on a computer rather than written down.
Guys, we hope that you enjoyed the episode. Let us know down in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live what you thought about it. We'll be back next week live, chilling and hanging out. We'll be live on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We'll be playing some cool games and all that good stuff. But thank you for watching. This has been Zach.
And Derek.
It's Honeysuckle Methuselah. But it'll work out, guys. It'll work out.
That's not going to stick. I'm sorry.
Oh, it is. Have a blessed week. Bye.